Hello everyone and welcome back to Lewis News, your #1 YouTube channel for all types of Spider-Man news. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the gameplay that was released for Marvel Spider-Man 2 on Friday when the embargo finally dropped. So let's get into it, let's talk about what we got, and let's cover generally the news. We've got a lot of news to get through in the next couple of weeks when it comes to Spider-Man stuff, because Marvel Spider-Man 2 has been taking the forefront on news on this channel, because I've been trying to report the news to you guys as quickly as I possibly can when it comes to this upcoming game. We've unfortunately been avoiding a lot of news that has been coming out as well when it comes to Spider-Man Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse, MCU Spider-Man 3 and 4, and a bunch of other Spider-Man stuff that we need to cover and the news I need to deliver to you guys over the next few weeks. So make sure you stay tuned, but without out of the way, let's talk about this gameplay. So I'm just going to be talking about the general things that we learned here in the gameplay and everything that we know from reviews and stuff. If you want to see a full breakdown of everything that was shown and everything that we know about Marvel Spider-Man 2 thus far, then go check out my video on Lewis Films that I posted on Saturday. That is a full breakdown of everything. But without the way, let's get straight into the stuff that we actually know. So the key things that I've took from this gameplay, which I think are very interesting and things that I think we have to really look at going into this game, are number one, Kraven is going to have more of a deal when it comes to Doc Connors becoming the Lizard once again. The second thing is that Harry Osborn seems to look like he knows that Peter Parker is in fact Spider-Man, which could put a very interesting twist on this game, especially in the latter half of the game as well, and we'll talk about that. And the last thing, and it looks like the Mr. Negative and Miles Morales story is going to be a lot bigger than we first initially thought. So let's start with the Kraven and Lizard situation. So from the demos that a few influencers and journalists reviewed, it turns out that Kraven is going to be the one that is making the Lizard bigger. In the first piece of gameplay that we actually got from this game, way back in the state of play at the start of the year, it was revealed, in fact, that the Lizard is shedding his skin and is getting bigger, so posing himself as a more formidable foe, something that we've never actually really seen from the Lizard before in Spider-Man media. And obviously Peter Parker in this universe has already fought Dr. Connors, aka the Lizard. However, what makes him different this time and what makes him a bigger threat is that he keeps getting bigger. Well, it turns out that we do now know that the reason because of this is because Kraven is actually feeding him a serum which is making him get bigger. And we know one of the missions now is Peter actually going after Kraven to get the antidote for the Lizard so he can return him back to being Dr. Connors. I think this is really interesting because this feeds directly into Kraven's story, as Kraven just wants a formidable foe to go up against and he wants a real challenge. So he's taking the Lizard and he is making him bigger essentially, and a bigger challenge for Kraven to defeat. And obviously, since this is posing a threat and posing harm against the city of New York, obviously both Miles and Peter are going to get involved. And with Peter having the symbiote, this creates this tension that really feels like a hot knife going through butter. But either way, I think that's very interesting. Now let's move on to Harry Osborn potentially knowing that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now we're not so sure if Harry finds this out in the game itself. We know that the demo that these influencers and journalists got to play was around 3 to 4 hours into the game. So it's not known that if Harry learns in the first couple of hours in Act 1 or whatever it may be in the game itself, or if Harry already knew Peter was Spider-Man way back when MJ found out all those years ago. It wasn't explicitly said. However, the gameplay that we did in fact get suggested that Harry does know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, as they were working together to defeat Kraven's goons. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I think it could be very, very interesting, and I'm going to be very interested to see what they actually do with that relationship, because Peter has the symbiote and Harry is helping Peter, and they seem like they're very friendly with one another. We know that the symbiote is what's keeping Harry alive, but if Harry knows that, and he knows that Peter has it, and he knows that he is Spider-Man, then potentially that could, open the door for some kind of tension at some point in the game as well. It just depends how the whole situation is handled. Nonetheless, it's a very interesting situation, and I do feel like it could boil over or become pretty heated later on in the game, especially since Harry is definitely the #1 candidate to become Venom. So I could definitely see that relationship turning sour. The third and final thing that I think was very interesting from all the reviews that came out was the fact that the Miles and Mr. Negative story is actually going to be bigger than we initially thought. Now, before the story trailer, no one had any idea Mr. Negative was actually going to be appearing in this game. But it turns out, not only is Mr. Negative going to be appearing in this game, he won't only be a side quest, but he will be a part of the main story when it comes to Miles Morales and him getting over the death of his father. As it was revealed in a scene where Miles talks to Rio, that Miles is basically considering ending Mr. Negative's life for good instead of locking him up, because he won't hurt anyone else just the way that he hurt Miles' father. Now that seems really out of character for any Spider-Man, but I really think it's interesting that Mr. Negative himself and his presence outside of prison is putting Miles in this difficult situation, making Miles think about the extremes he could go to really make sure that Mr. Negative doesn't hurt anyone else. And I really do like that because it puts a really big strain on Miles' character and pushes him to the absolute limit. And like I said, it turns out that he won't just be a side quest or a side mission or a small part of the story. This is going to be a big part of Miles' character and Miles' arc throughout this game. And that is a big thing that we learned coming from the reviews and all the first impressions that we got from this game. Because remember, like I said, this is 3 to 4 hours into the actual game itself, which means that Mr. Negative would have already had to have escaped, and there probably would have been a mission tracking him down and maybe even getting a first encounter. We saw in the story trailer that Mr. Negative, in his first appearance, will have an orange jumpsuit, suggesting that he literally just got out of prison, and this is the first time we are meeting him. But either way, I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and I'm really excited to see how that relationship pans out. With that being said, that is pretty much it for today's news video. If you are new around here, make sure you leave a like on this video and make sure you're subscribed with the bell notifications turned on, because Marvel Spider-Man 2 stuff is hitting us thick and fast, and we've got a bunch of other stuff to cover, as well as a bunch of other stuff with Across the Spider-Verse and MCU Spider-Man stuff as well. There's been loads of news over the last week or so, and I'm going to have to cover it now because Marvel Spider-Man 2 has been taking the forefront, so make sure you don't miss any more news that comes out from the channel. This is your #1 channel for Spider-Man news, remember that. So stay tuned, thanks for watching, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, and peace.